Okay, this is part 7 of our training series, and what we're going to do now is expose some of the values here, because right now, again, I've just let me first ungroup this. If you want to change anything here, say how this arrow, this worn out areas appears, we'll have to go in and maybe change the scale here, things like that. We have to go back to the node group and change things. But I want to set up a shader or a node, a single node where we have only values like this, so that we can easily work out what we want. I just slide the value and get what we want. So let's see how to expose some of the values here. So I'm just going to select a bunch of these nodes, and I think let me change. Let's create a new workspace here, and what I'm going to do is let me just split. Let me join this area, expand this. Let me isolate this as well. Preview this, so we can switch between the editor and yeah. So we want to expose some of these values, but let's first turn this into a group. So select all the nodes, these nodes, and then Control G to frame them into their own node group. I'll call these scratches, or let's call this curvature, or worn out mask, like that, and maybe give it a different color here, like that, and we can start exposing some of the values we want here. For example, when we want to scale the noise, if you want to expose that value there, we have this node here that shows group input. If we move this, if we grab this value here, it's the scale that we are using to change the scale of the nodes of that worn out area. So I can drag this out to the group input, and if we tab out, you can see now we are exposing that value so that we can easily control it here. Now let's go back and expose the values here. So I think, let's see, what does this do? I think we can also expose these. I wish there was a way to just right click and push it out like that. So just going to select this. Now we have that value there. Now if we go to properties, can also just name these to settings instead of group input. Just call this greater than mask. Let me just call this noise mask, just to name things a bit so that they're easy to just see. I don't think there's a way to rename the values here directly, but yeah, we can just, as you can see now, we can control the scale directly here, and also change the values like that. So you can expose more and more values as you want, but I think for now this is good enough. You can see we have different worn out areas, and the same with this. Let's see what other values we can expose. So right now we have been exposing only the inputs, but we haven't exposed any outputs. We have only a single output. Sometimes you want more than one output. For example, we have these scratches and we have these worn out areas. These scratches should also be bumpy so that it shows that they are cutting into the wood. but we don't want these worn out areas to be cutting into the wood. So if I just, let me first disconnect this. I can use this directly into my bump map, connect this into my bump map. So vector bump, and connect this to the height, and then connect this to the normal. And we should start seeing, let me turn off this so that things can load a bit faster. We should start seeing some bump maps or bumpy areas in our scene. Let's see, just taking a while to compile here. You can see, but the problem is that even these worn out areas are also getting pushed in. Maybe that's what you want, but maybe I want to have some bit of control over how much that goes in. So what we can do is expose some of the values here. So to expose the output, I want the first output to actually be there. And then for the second output, I want just the scratches, how deep the scratches go. So let me expose, let's see. So I want to preview this node, but if I hold on Control Shift and then click this, the Node Wrangler add-on will not work, so that I can only preview this. So I'm just, if you want to preview a specific node within a node group, I just have to drag it directly into the output of that node group so that you can preview it. So this is what we're previewing, but the problem is we are previewing this bump map. So let me preview just the node. So I want just the scratches. I want to preview just the scratches. Yeah, something like this. So now I can just feed this so that I have a new exposed value that I can have as my, I can push into my, so that I can use it as my bump map. And I also want to have some bumps for the worn out areas, the corner worn out areas. So let me find that. I think it is, no, that's not it. Yeah, so I also want this here to be exposed, so I'll push that into the node so that is also exposed. And finally, now let me just bring back this. So now we have 3 outputs. The problem is I'm not sure how to rename. Let me see. Node label, let's call this. I want to rename these values, but it seems there's no way to rename them. Okay, anyway, now if I want to control how much bump each of these values creates, I can just create a mix node like this. And have one value set there and another one set like that. So if we preview this node, you can see what we are getting. So I can control how much each of these values come through, like that. Or I can also just use this mask and control the values directly like this. But what I wanted is to just have the option to have only the scratches as the bumps, or the worn out areas as the bumps, like that. So, and if I want the combination, I just use the first node like that. So but right now I think the scratches only is good enough like that. So now I can reduce this value there, and I think maybe we can have some bit of a combination of the two. So again, let me just bring back my mix node color, mix RGB. have this as value 1 and this as value 2, and again you can mix the two just by sliding this a bit. See, something like that. And even preview how this looks here. I think what we want is this to be pushed down. So what I'm going to do is kind of invert, first invert this node here, because black areas when you're using bump maps, they are pushed into the object, and then white areas are pushed out of the object. So we want this to be this white area to be the paint, a layer of paint a little bit above the wood. So now if we look at a mixture of this, we can also just use the multiply node. So you can see we can have the main scratches cut into the wood a little bit more by fading out these worn out areas a bit, if you want something like that. And to make the effect more pronounced, I can even increase this value a bit. Let's see what I mean. Again, this because we're using the same template here, we're getting the same effect here. Again, this value is a bit too high, so let me just bring it back to 1. Have something like that. Bring back the colors, and yeah, that's how you expose node group values. Thank you.